Soichiro Honda was born on November 17, 1906, in a small village called Komyo in Shizuoka Prefecture. It was a challenging time for Japan, especially in rural areas where most families relied on manual labor and farming to make a living. The Honda family was no exception. His father, Gihei, was a blacksmith, and his mother, Mika, took care of the household while raising 6 children. Soichiro grew up in an environment where every little thing was valued. In addition to working with metal, his father also repaired bicycles, which often became the family's main source of income. Watching his father work intently with tools, Soichiro began to develop an interest in mechanics. Even as a child, he loved observing moving parts, studying their structure, and trying to understand how they worked. One day, when he was about 8 years old, the first automobile arrived in their village. This event was astonishing for the young boy. The sound of the engine, the smell of oil, and the sight of a machine moving without the help of animals were mesmerizing. He would recall that moment for hours, dreaming of one day creating something just as remarkable. During his school years, Soichiro often focused on things unrelated to academics. He wasn't a diligent student. He preferred observing the world around him and learning through hands-on experiences. He gladly helped his father with small tasks while inventing his own ways of working with mechanical parts. This brought him joy, even if his attempts weren't always successful. At the age of 15, Soichiro made one of the boldest decisions of his life, to leave his native village and move to Tokyo. He had learned about an apprentice position at the Tokai auto repair shop. With no money, no connections, and minimal education, he set off for the capital in search of a future. At Tokai, his work started with the simplest tasks: cleaning, handing over tools, and observing. However, Soichiro stood out for his exceptional curiosity and passion for learning. He asked questions, dismantled mechanisms, and even stayed late to acquire new skills. Before long, he was entrusted with helping repair a racing car, a true challenge for him. Working on the race car allowed him not only to study parts, but also to experiment with them. He began to realize that mechanics was not just an exact science, but an art that required courage and unconventional thinking. This experience laid the foundation for his philosophy, which would later underpin Honda's success. Technology must be accessible, reliable, and improved every day. Young, inexperienced, and without connections, he was driven solely by his desire to learn, but he understood that every small step offered an opportunity to learn something new. This proactive approach gave him a solid foundation for future growth. Before long, he was given his first serious opportunity, working on more complex parts. However, this led to a major disappointment. One day, while trying to repair an engine, he made a mistake that prevented the car from starting. The workshop's craftsmen were unhappy, and Soichiro found himself on the verge of being fired. He realized that a single mistake could jeopardize everything he was working toward. Instead of giving up, he worked even harder, studying mechanics books and finding ways to improve his skills. His persistence soon began to pay off. As he worked on various projects, he noticed that his methods and approaches were increasingly successful. On one occasion, he managed to improve an engine's efficiency. This achievement marked a turning point for Soichiro, and he was soon entrusted with more complex tasks. However, his journey was far from easy. One of the biggest challenges came in the late 1920s, when Honda was tasked with leading a project to develop a new engine for Japanese cars. At the time, he was brimming with confidence, but all his efforts ended in failure. Engineers and specialists he worked with doubted his ideas and methods, dismissing him as overly ambitious and impractical. Eventually, the project was cancelled, leaving Honda to face another defeat. This was a difficult moment for him, but rather than giving up, Soichiro learned from his mistakes. He realized that even unsuccessful projects provided valuable knowledge. He came to understand that true progress couldn't be achieved without constantly testing his ideas and searching for alternative solutions. Having endured setbacks and disappointments, Soichiro continued his journey. Each failure only strengthened his determination to move forward and explore new possibilities. He realized there was no shortcut to success and that challenges were simply milestones on the path to achieving his dreams. In the early 1930s, after several years of working at the Tokai auto repair shop, Soichiro Honda decided it was time to forge his own path. His ambitions had long exceeded merely working on cars. He dreamed of creating rather than just repairing. So, in 1934, he founded his first company, Tokai Seiki, translated as Tokai Precision Machinery. The company specialized in manufacturing piston rings, a critical component for internal combustion engines. However, this venture was far from straightforward. Soichiro lacked sufficient experience in producing such parts. In the early months, the quality of the piston rings produced by Tokai Seiki was poor. Out of every 100 rings made, only 3 passed quality control. These failures nearly shattered Honda's dream, as no one was willing to buy his products. Instead of abandoning his idea, he chose to learn. Soichiro enrolled in a technical school to gain more knowledge about metallurgy and manufacturing processes. However, his approach to education was unconventional. He rarely attended lectures, preferring instead to immerse himself in hands-on work. Soon, he refined his methods and significantly improved the quality of his products. In 1936, a breakthrough occurred. Tokai Seiki secured a contract with Toyota to supply piston rings. This was a massive success, but also a daunting challenge. Toyota imposed extremely strict quality standards. Soichiro and his team worked tirelessly, often around the clock, to meet the automaker's demands. He personally supervised every stage of production, fine-tuning the process to perfection. However, fortune did not favor him for long. Shortly after signing the contract, World War II broke out. Tokai Seiki was forced to shift its focus to manufacturing parts for military equipment. This period proved incredibly difficult for Honda. His factories were bombed, and there were severe shortages of materials and labor. Yet even under these conditions, Soichiro found innovative solutions. One such solution involved using glass bottles as substitutes for scarce metal materials. This ingenuity allowed him to continue production temporarily despite the immense challenges. But by 1945, the situation had reached a breaking point. One of his factories was destroyed in an earthquake, while another was completely obliterated during air raids. These events threatened to erase everything Honda had built over the years. The devastation was so extensive that he made the tough decision to sell the remnants of his business to Toyota. It seemed like the end of his entrepreneurial journey, but it was in fact the beginning of a new era. He faced defeat with his head held high and resolved that his next venture would be even more impactful. From the ruins of his former enterprise emerged the idea for a company that would revolutionize the global automotive industry. Honda understood that post-war Japan needed a fresh start, technologies that could improve the lives of ordinary people. In 1946, Honda started experimenting with engines. His inspiration came from small gasoline engines left over from the war. These engines, originally used in military equipment, were now lying idle in warehouses. Soichiro decided to repurpose them by attaching them to bicycles. Thus, his first product, a motorized bicycle, was born. The initial prototype was far from perfect. The engines were noisy, and attaching them to bicycles was labor-intensive. However, the concept resonated with people struggling to get around in a post-war Japan, plagued by fuel shortages and limited public transportation. The simplicity and affordability of the motorized bicycle made it an instant hit, and demand began to surge. This success motivated Honda to take the next step. In 1948, Soichiro Honda, together with his business partner Takeo Fujisawa, founded Honda Motor Company. It was a bold move. Japan's economy was only beginning to recover, and the competition in the transportation market was fierce. But Honda knew that the key to success lay in innovation and quality. The company's early days were filled with challenges. They lacked funds for expensive advertising or advanced technologies. Yet Honda instilled a philosophy that became the foundation of the company: joy of work and dreams. He inspired his employees to work with enthusiasm and to believe that their efforts could truly make a difference. One of the company's first major successes came in 1949 with the release of the Honda Cub F-Type engine. Compact, economical, and easy to use, this engine could be fitted onto any bicycle. The product was revolutionary for its time. Not only was it cheaper than alternatives, but it was also more reliable, making it a favorite among Japanese families. Honda Motor Company, however, had no intention of stopping there. Soichiro Honda dreamed not only of meeting existing demand, but also of creating an entirely new class of transportation. His goal was to make technology accessible to everyone, regardless of their status or income. A crucial part of the company's strategy was its focus on research and development. Honda reinvested all profits into creating new technologies and training his team. He frequently reminded his employees, "Those who fear mistakes will never create anything great." By the early 1950s, Honda Motor Company had become Japan's leading manufacturer of motorized bicycles. But for Soichiro Honda, this was just the beginning. He dreamed of global success and believed that his technology could conquer roads around the world. The first major step in this direction was the creation of the Dream D-Type motorcycle in 1949. This was Honda's first fully developed and manufactured motorcycle. The model combined innovative design, lightness, and reliability. The Dream D-Type became a symbol of a new era for the company. But for Honda, this was just the beginning. In 1959, Honda took a bold leap by entering the American market, opening a subsidiary in Los Angeles. For the young Japanese company, this was a massive risk. At the time, America was synonymous with large cars and powerful motorcycles like Harley-Davidson. However, Honda was confident that his products could carve out a niche thanks to their reliability, affordability, and simplicity. Initially, things did not go smoothly. Americans viewed the Japanese brand with suspicion, assuming its products were of lower quality. But the company quickly changed public perception with its groundbreaking marketing campaign. You meet the nicest people on a Honda. This strategy broke the stereotype that motorcycles were only for rebels. Instead, Honda portrayed motorcycles as stylish and convenient transportation for everyone. The pinnacle of Honda's success came with the release of the Honda Super Cub in 1958. This motorcycle became a true bestseller due to its simplicity, low price, and reliability. The Super Cub won over not only Japan and America, but also dozens of other countries. It became the best-selling motor vehicle in history, with millions of units sold. As Honda's success grew, the company began applying its ideas to automobiles. In the 1960s, it launched its first sports car, the Honda S500, and later moved on to more mass-market models. Soichiro personally oversaw the quality and innovation of every product. He believed that machines should bring joy not only to the user, but also to the creator. This philosophy was central to the company's culture. Honda often said, cars and motorcycles are not just transportation. They are tools of freedom, joy, and creativity. He encouraged his employees to experiment, seek unconventional solutions, and not fear mistakes. This approach made the company a symbol of quality and innovation. By the end of the 1960s, Honda Motor Company had become a global powerhouse. Its products were sold in dozens of countries, and factories were being built worldwide. Soichiro Honda became the embodiment of success, achieved through perseverance, determination, and belief in one's ideas. His story inspired thousands of young engineers and entrepreneurs. Yet Honda remained humble. He always emphasized that the company's success was the result of teamwork, not just his efforts alone. Soichiro's philosophy extended beyond creating machines. He believed that companies should work for the betterment of society. This conviction formed the foundation of many Honda initiatives, such as the development of environmentally friendly engines and support for educational programs for children. This belief laid the foundation for hybrid vehicles like the Honda Insight, released in 1999. The Insight was one of the first mass-produced hybrids, setting a trend for eco-friendly technology. Soichiro Honda passed away in 1991, but his name endures as a symbol of determination and ingenuity. His journey serves as a reminder that the greatest achievements often begin with a simple dream, supported by relentless effort. Soichiro Honda's life story is not merely about building a global brand. It's the story of a boy from a poor family who dreamed of speed and wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty. From childhood, he believed that passion and persistence could make the impossible achievable. Honda faced immense challenges: poverty, failure, war, and the skepticism of others. Yet his dream was always stronger than any obstacle. He started by repairing bicycles in a rural village and ended with his name becoming synonymous with innovation and quality worldwide. This story teaches us that it doesn't matter where you were born, what hardships you face, or how many times you fail. What matters is that you never stop, learn from your mistakes, and keep moving forward. Soichiro Honda proved that a great dream could be born in the humblest workshop, and determination could turn it into a reality that inspires millions. Today, his name reminds us that behind every monumental achievement is a person who dared to take the first step.
Friends, this is probably all for today. Write your opinion about this amazing story in the comments, Also rate the video and subscribe to the channel, and we will do our best for you.